Hello, my name is Charlotte Armitage and I'm a psychologist. Now, we've all experienced some significant disruption to our lives recently, and we can't forget that this is also going to be impacting our children as well, not just on us. And sometimes they do get overlooked in situations like this. Now, this is going to be a big change for them. They're out of routine. They're not seeing their friends, they're not seeing grandparents, they're not in school, in education, all these activities that their young minds need at the moment. So, here are my top 5 tips of how to manage this situation with children. So, first of all, be totally honest with them about the situation, but in an age appropriate way. So, you don't want to give too much information to really young children, but they aren't stupid. So, even if you aren't telling them what's going on, they're going to be hearing it. They know they're not going to school, they know they're not seeing their grandparents. And they will hear snippets of you talking and things on the news. They pick these things up. So be honest with them about what's going on and explain it to them in an age appropriate way, and allow them to have. They're going to be emotional, as we all are, about this situation because we are unsettled and it is likely to make people feel a bit more unsettled than usual. And this is going to happen with children. So allow them to be emotional, let them talk about it. You can ask questions to see how they feel about it, and are they missing grandma and granddad or friends, let them be open, let them talk to you about what's going on in this situation, because helping them to process those emotions now will prevent this turning into some sort of bigger problem down the line, because that's what happens when emotions aren't processed and dealt with appropriately at the time. My second tip would be let children talk with their friends on these online platforms like Zoom or Skype. I think you can have up to 100 people on some of these platforms. So, get 10 of them from their class online, or more or less, and get them all in a conversation, and maybe do that regularly so that the children know they've got something to look forward to, and they're actually going to be seeing their friends, because they're going to be missing people of their own age as well. And that's a good way for them to maintain those relationships and maintain social interaction with people, their own peers of their own age group as well. Number 3, be flexible with homeschooling. So, for those of us who have children in mainstream schools or in private education, but those who aren't already homeschooling, we are going to have been sent these homeschooling packs and information of how we can help our children learn at home. But I think we need to be flexible with that routine. This is a change for children. They're stressed, they're pressured. It's an unusual environment. So allow a routine to evolve and develop. But that will be a completely different routine to what you've already had. But with regards to homeschooling, you can do different things with your children. So drawing and painting and playing in the garden, going for walks and looking at different trees. There's all sorts of different things that you can do that aren't just a sitting down with the paper or the laptop and doing the exercises that have been taught. There is definitely an element of that needs to be done, but you can be flexible with respect to how that is done, so that it's still an enjoyable experience, because we want children to go back to school maintaining a positive attitude towards education. And if whilst they're at home they're finding it stressful, and let's face it, most people who aren't trained teachers might find teaching young children quite tiring. So use different things, which is good for you and it's good for them. It helps with bonding as well. My 4th tip is to implement a routine. So even though it's not going to be the same routine that you've already got, you will need some sort of routine structure, because having that predictability and routine is quite a fundamental aspect for children. So we do it as soon as they're born. We start to put them into a routine, don't we? And they do need that routine and structure, because it helps them to feel safe and as though they've got some control over their world and environment, which at the moment that control's been taken out of all of our hands, and they're going to be feeling that as well. So implement a new routine that works for all of you. Consult them when you're putting this routine together. Say, what do you think we should be doing between 10 a.m. and 12 a.m.? What should we do? And once, if they're involved in creating their routine, they're more likely to be engaged in it and to adhere to it as time goes on. And I would definitely say try and keep the bedtime routine fairly strict. when children are tired, they're grouchy and they're moody and they're miserable the next day and they don't function as well, then that can end up to them misbehaving, that can end up to the parent feeling frustrated, and then the child picks up on your frustration. It's a really vicious cycle. So making sure that you're well rested and that the children are well rested is going to be good for your mental health and your physical health and your immune system, which obviously at the moment we need to be looking after our immune systems really well. And also when they are at home every day, having that time after bedtime for you and maybe you and your partner, you're going to need that, aren't you? You know, when you've got the children with you all the time, you do need that time when they've gone to bed just to have a bit of adult time, because it can become overwhelming otherwise. And then my fifth and final tip would be to let your child teach you something. We don't always just learn by being taught. We can learn by teaching as well. It's fun. It lets them teach you something. It's a good way to bond with your child. And it also allows them to have a little control over something. If you say, oh, well, you're going to teach me something today and I'm going to let you choose what it is. And if you're fully engaged in that, it lets the child feel like they've got some control over the world, over something that they're doing, and gives them some sense of autonomy. I think at the moment, given everything that's going on and how unusual it is for everybody, the most important thing is that we can try and enjoy this period of time with our children, because this is a period of time that we get to spend with our children that we wouldn't normally get. And how we respond throughout this period is going to have a big impact on their future well-being and how they respond to events like this in the future. So we're modelling and setting up behaviours for them to learn from and practice in the future.